empowerment psychic, Halley, Elise, a top 100 psychic, speaker, and author. Be sure to contact Halley Elise at halleyelise.com. And now, the Halley Elise Show.
Welcome, everyone, to the Halley Elise Show. If you're hearing laughter in the studio, it is because it's a very peculiar time for us to shoot. I have a guest today, and I'm actually doing this yesterday. So if you're watching today and listening today, you're going, what? I was unable to actually be live today. If you were thinking, oh, but I wanted to call in for a reading, please don't give up. This week, I just couldn't be here. There is a family situation that I have to take care of. But I did not want you to miss the show. That being said, I figured, okay, let's pre-record, and this way I don't miss anything. And I have my lovely friend here that I'll introduce in just a moment. Before we go there, I do want to remind folks that are still dealing with Irma. I'm not even going to use the H word because I don't think she is entitled with the mess that she made. I am going to say, if you're still dealing with the mess, if you're wondering what are you going to do, you have a loss of wage, if there's a problem with your home, and you're thinking, well, I have insurance, but that's not enough, or you're just wondering what you're going to do, contact FEMA. Contact the Red Cross, because they do make a difference and they can help you. And as far as FEMA, I know you have 60 days to file. Don't wait till it's 61 days. Be sure to get your application in. They're really good about assessing a situation and helping you. Also, I believe it's not the Small Business Association, but a division of that is doing things for your business. So just kind of look online, type in perhaps hurricane assistance, small business, see what comes up, because there are a lot of agencies right now that are making a difference, that are helping everyone. And if you're sitting in a position thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm losing money, my office is down, or even at home, that things are just not where they need to be, you lost all your food, you lost your roof, what have you, don't just think insurance. Contact these agencies, FEMA, Red Cross, see if they can help you. Okay, that being said, I do want to say that prayers go out to everybody who has been affected. I know here in Florida, South Florida specifically, we were very blessed. I know I had mentioned previously that I was ambiguous about this hurricane because usually I'm jotting on the spot with where it's going to hit and what's happening, at least for the last decade. And this one just didn't feel right. I know that sounds like an odd thing because you would think, well, hurricanes go back and forth. How can you really identify? But typically I know. What was interesting was there kept being that discomfort, that unknowing. And probably about 4 days before the storm actually hit, I was out of town. I kept thinking, it's going west, it's going north, it's not going to hit a 5 in the South Florida area as far as Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach County as they were projecting. I really felt like it was going to be 3 or less, and I was grateful that it was, because the folks in the Keys and the folks in Cuba and the islands, they've had such a hard time, and it seems that every time there's a storm, because they're literally in the route, they get that backlash. So prayers go out to them, and I'm going to say that if you're thinking, well, you really can't do anything, you can. If you have extra canned goods, donate to the local charity that's going to make a difference. If you have nothing to donate because you're dealing with your own situation, prayers. Go into a place of gratitude that you are okay, and give a little prayer that those who are in need get the assistance that they need. All right, I thank you for listening to that. And if you have any question about locating some of the agencies, if you're having a hard time finding it, you can just reach out to me directly and I can actually give you the links. And you can reach me on Facebook or through my website, or honestly, Google. It's only about 20 pages. I'm sure you can reach me. All right, and if you need the website specifically, it is halleyelise.com. That's HALLEYELISE.com. All that said, now we can move forward to my special guest today. Now, you know, I get very excited and delighted anytime I have a guest, especially when it's somebody that I truly enjoy. And I hate to say this, but I truly enjoy everybody who comes on, or I don't invite them on. But this is a special individual who I think will astound you, not only with his effervescence and his wit and his wisdom, but just the level of comfort that he conveys information. And obviously it's a gentleman this time instead of a lady. I have Mark Logue with me, who is a business coach, a trainer, a facilitator, and an author. He is unstoppable. the reason I say that is we were talking earlier about his romantic relationship, and maybe we can touch base on that a little bit, because it was just fun to share how you can meet somebody and have an instant connection, and how once they get comfortable with you, they're kind of like, just go to sleep. And I think we've all experienced that at one point or another. So without further ado, Mark, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. That's quite an introduction. I was going to look around and say, who is this fella? I want to meet him. He sounds wonderful.
He's pretty cool, actually.
He's not a bad fella.
No, not at all.
So should I let people know I'm from Ireland? This way they're wondering where the accent
They're
is from?
probably thinking you talk funny.
I talk funny, yeah. So I'm originally a Northern Ireland fella in this country. Fella, lad, man. Guy, as they say in America.
Okay.
I still can't say the
They
word
all
guy.
work.
Yes, they all
As
work.
long as you don't say lass, you're
Yes.
okay.
Less. Well, you're the lass. I'm the lad.
Well,
Yes.
as far as we know.
Yes. Yeah.
That's another
Yep, the
subject
lad's
for
still
another
there. That's
time.
a different.
Okay.
I think there could be a different
I think
show.
we were talking about
Yes.
some of that earlier. No, we're not doing that show this evening.
Very much so. That could be a different show. So I'll give you a little bit about my background.
That would be great.
Where I came from and how long I'm in this
Absolutely.
country and all that good stuff. So I'm originally from Northern Ireland. I came from a rural part of the country, a place called Donegal, which is the west of the
Oh,
country.
I like the name. Say that again.
Donegal.
It sounds like a song. It's very melodic.
Donegal, yes, the hills of Donegal. And it's interesting, most people in the west of the country, you're revered if you're artistic, if you can dance, if you can sing, if you can recite poetry.
Nice.
You know, my grandmother, I'll never forget my grandmother, and there was a friend of mine, his name was Peter. I won't say the last name, God forbid, he's
He's not
watching.
Peter with the dragon, right?
He's not Peter with the dragon,
Okay,
no, not
just
Peter
making
with the
sure.
dragon.
Couldn't help
So
myself.
Peter couldn't dance, couldn't play sports, didn't play the fiddle, didn't sing, didn't do any of that sort of stuff. And my grandmother said, well, luckily enough, he's smart. He might be a doctor or a teacher one of these days. You know, so that's kind of the
That's kind of a
mindset.
plus. If something's not working, you know, it can work out differently than you expect.
Yeah. So that was the mindset, was arts, crafts, being
Right.
open to the theatre and being open to music and being open to comedy and acting and singing and stuff. And that was our culture. That's where we came from. So I was...
And a little short Irishman with pots of gold.
That's in the south of the country. I'm from the northwest.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. I figured you'd introduce me to the guy.
So, you know, I had a great upbringing, Halley. I can't say enough about the good, wholesome life. It was tough.
Right.
You know, the first 6 years of my life, I lived with my grandparents, my parents and my grandparents. We lived in a wee house, a small house in a rural part of the country on a hill.
It sounds beautiful, though.
If you imagine
I mean,
Wuthering
really.
Heights, have you ever seen Wuthering Heights? Was that Emily Bronte?
I believe, yes.
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 So that barren kind of windy nights, and it's kind of wet and it's
And
wet, and you go outside and the hair's a
green
mess and
just-
stuff.
You can't see anything,
Nope.
really. It's just, it goes on for forever.
Yes, that's it. And I'll never forget my dad on Saturday nights. He would sit and we'd look out the one little window, and there was one road that came across the hill on the other side, and every now and then you'd see a car come by. And my dad,
Did you say carrot?
a car.
A car.
A car.
Okay, car.
car.
No, I was just making
A car.
sure I heard that correctly.
car.
But he said carrot. He see a carrot
car.
float by.
You see an automobile drive by.
There you go. A vehicle.
Yes, a vehicle. So he would see the car, and my dad would make up a whole story around the car. He'd say, "That's a spy.
Oh, how fun.
That's an English spy. Where do you
That's
think he's
awesome.
going?" And we would go for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then I would fall asleep, and they put me to bed.
So it was
All over
really,
the lights of a car.
it was really easy, though, then for you to fantasize, to be dramatic, to be playful, expressive. If
Very
you
much
had
so.
a family
Yeah, very
that's
much
telling
so.
you to look at these things and explore and be a part of
My
it.
dad, yes. My mum, no.
No?
My mum was black and white rules, very rules driven.
Interesting.
There had to be a point with that. My dad was the free spirit, you know, so it was great. God rest him, he's dead and gone now 15 years. He died relatively young of cancer, but he gave me great things, and, you know, I was very blessed to grow up in that environment. It was a tough environment, you know.
Absolutely. Did you do farming in that area? Yes.
Yeah, the first 10 years I was with my father's father. We would be farming, and then my mother's father, when I got a little older, I would be farming with him in the summertime. And, you know, they were tough. They had expectations. So, you know, when
Makes
I
sense.
came to America, you know, I raised my family here. I have two children. My boy now is 24, and my girl is 21.
You have to think about
I
that.
think about that, and they always get mad at me,
I
like,
wonder if they're
Dad.
going to be listening, because they're going to be going, really? He doesn't know how old they are?
Well, you know, there's
You
only
just
two
want to
kids.
keep them young. That's all.
That's
That's
it.
what it is. You
That's
just want
it.
to keep them young because you love your children.
That's it, and they're beautiful, and I would call my daughter my son's name, and I call my son my daughter's name, and they're like, seriously?
See, that's why I
You
only
can't
had one.
combine?
Because this way it's not hard to remember, as long as I wasn't calling her the dog's name or the cat's name or the bird's name or the fish's name.
Then you're in trouble.
Yes.
Then you're in trouble. So, my grandfather, they were tough. They had expectations. And I played football. I played soccer. But you call it football because it's a
Yes.
game you kick the ball with your feet. And I was 15 years old and I was on the men's team. So I was a good footballer and I was tall and fast and athletic. And I had this one game one night after working all day with my grandfather out in the farm. We were doing this thing called digging peats. And that's a long story. I'll take me half an hour to explain digging peats.
Okay.
So it's sort of like coal, but it's not as well formed. It's a softer type of
So everybody
fuel.
can Google digging peats and see
Peat
what
moss.
you come up with.
Peat moss, Peatmoss.
Okay.
So we spent the day digging the peats. It's about 5:30. It's 5:30, and he says, "Okay, we got the game. We need to go." All right, so we get into the car, have a bite to eat,
Right.
and I hit the field, but I had a pulled hamstring, and I shouldn't have played, and I played that night, and the local teams, one town would play another town, so there was tremendous pride. So imagine Boca playing Delray or Delray
Got
playing
it.
Boynton.
Got it.
And the thing is, the whole town comes out to watch the game.
Nice.
So there's a couple of hundred people at this game.
All rallying together for
Yes.
their favorite team.
For the town.
There's excitement
Yep.
and energy. And
I played
you
terrible that
do
night.
good.
I was horrible. And we lost 2-1.
Oh, no.
And my grandfather, and I'm walking off. My head's down. I knew myself. I didn't play well. And I'm walking off. And the first thing I feel, everybody's congratulating the other side and commiserating with us. And I feel this, I get the hair pulled by the side. And I knew it was my grandfather. I didn't even have to look around. I looked around. He goes, "You let the family down tonight.
Oh, no.
You don't play like
You
that
didn't
again."
play a game.
Because I didn't play my best.
Gosh, talk
Right?
about expectations.
Well,
Did it set a precedent for you as far as in your life that you had to always excel, or did you find yourself somewhat rebuking the idea of it had to be perfect?
to me, it wasn't so much about being perfect. It was about, did you do your best?
Okay.
He's like, you didn't do your best tonight. You let us down. You let the family down. You need to know better. You need to know when you can step off the field and play. So that kind of standard, that set a standard for me that, okay, this is, if I'm not playing my best, why bother?
Then
Don't
why
play.
do it? Makes sense.
And I've kind of brought that into all parts of my life as I've spent the last 34 years in this country, when time goes by quickly, and that's
Very
another
quick, yes.
another topic we could talk about. And the sports field for me has been great. I played soccer. I was fortunate enough when I got to America. I got a soccer scholarship to college.
Very nice.
Yes, and then I played
Well, you already had some
semi-pro.
experience.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll go to-
really and truly, you had a discipline for the game. You had the idea of having high energy. If you're going out, you're going to really work at it. So you already had the right mindset.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a little break,
Yes.
and we'll be right back with Mark Logue. This is your empowerment psychic, Halley Elise, one of the top 100 psychics in America. For over 30 years, I have offered psychic readings, programs, spiritual guidance, and other life skill techniques. As our lives have become more complicated, we often reach for answers. Who are we? Where are we headed? Are we pointed in the right direction? In addition, we often are concerned for our loved ones. I have helped thousands of people navigate their life circumstances through different modalities of spiritual and intuitive guidance. Call me at 561-755-2166 and allow me to further explain how I may assist you in clearing the path of yesterday so today and tomorrow will be a success. Call me at 561-755-2166 or visit my site, HalleyElise.com. That's HalleyElise.com.
Journey with Gaia Retreat in Mount Shasta, August 19th through the 25th. A transforming and magical experience with Catherine Lorenzini. Embrace the energies of Mount Shasta and the portals of the root chakra. Channeling ascending masters, energy vortexes, sacred sites, crystal bowl healings, vision quests, and so much more. Visit JourneyWithGaia.com for more information. That's JourneyWithGaia, GAIA.com. You have been listening to a Top 100 Psychic, Halley Elise, your connection to all things spiritual, psychic, and empowering. For a private session, Call 561-755-2166. Now, back to the Halley Elise Show.
Welcome back to the Halley Elise Show. If you're just tuning in this evening, I have my lovely friend and guest with me, Mark Logue. And he was sharing just before break a little bit about his background in Ireland. So if you're listening thinking, oh, can't discern the accent, that's where he's from. And what I think is interesting, because Mark is a trainer, he is a business coach, he is an author and a presenter and facilitator. All of these things, whether he's aware of it or not, I really feel have begun when he was just a child, because he had, we'll say, roots put into the earth, and yet it sounds like he came from a family that really cultivated good morals, cultivated the idea to be motivated in your life, cultivated the idea that life is to be enjoyed and played. And that kind of leads me, and it's somewhat of a segue to where you are now. Because, yes, you trained with, I believe, or worked with, and both perhaps, Tony Robbins, who many people know as a motivational trainer, speaker. He works with athletes all over the world. He's helped business executives, et cetera, et cetera. And I know he has a specific approach, a way that he does things. And when you work for somebody like that, you have to follow their rules. On one hand, I think that's great, because there's that synchronicity, there is that expectant outcome based on previous history with that particular person. Yet, my feeling is, because of your background in the country and the type of parents you had and working the land, there is a different feel in your approach.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree with that,
Because my sense here is you have rules, but perhaps they're a little bit more flexible. And not to say that his way of doing things is wrong, because obviously he's proven that there's amazing results. Though I don't believe there's just one way of doing things.
I agree.
When a client contacts you and they say, you know, I love what I do, but my business is a mess. I don't know where to go. Help. I read your book. By the way, what is the name of your book? Please share with everybody. That's kind of important.
Yes. So the book is called The Looking Glass Detective, and it's a body language book. It's to empower people to be present. And to be from that place of presence, being present, to truly observe the people and the person that's in front of you and the people around you in your relationship, in your personal relationship, in your business.
And how they're open or not open.
I believe it was, who wrote Sherlock Holmes? Was it Conan Doyle? Arthur Conan Doyle?
Arthur Conan Doyle, yes.
And in the book he says, from Sherlock's perspective, he says to Watson, he says, Dr. Watson, you see, but you do not observe. Right, and that's the idea of the book. Because as a business coach, and to your point from Tony Robbins, when I worked there for just under 3 years. And a big part of that, Halley, is to listen to what the person's not telling me. Because so much of what we say is
reading between the lines, and what are you hearing? The intonation, the emotion, the energy.
The energy, and are they authentic? Did they read a book, and did they say, okay, well, I was educated on this process, and this is what I should be doing? And then there's a lack of authenticity with that process, that mindset, that philosophy. And because they're not authentic, because they don't own it, it's not going to work for them. So that as a business coach, that's my job, is to come in and sort of hear the story. And as you know, a story is nothing but a narrative around the truth, around the facts. So here are the facts.
It's, if you will, the show that you've played over and over in your mind. And you've seen it so many times that you believe it to be true, whether it is or not.
Whether it is or not, exactly. And as you know, once you tell yourself that story loud enough, long enough,
that's what you believe.
It becomes the truth, and you start to believe it, and you start to lose the defined lines between the fantasy, the story, and the reality.
So if somebody, for instance, calls and, as I said before, they're saying they don't know what to do, but you dig a little deeper. You don't just say, okay, tell me about your business.
No.
You take a personal approach. You want to find out who it is that you're dealing with. Where are they situated in the world? How do they see themselves? Because so much of that spills over into business. So, for instance, if somebody says, I always fail, nothing ever turns out right, everything is against me. We had a hurricane and I'm never going to make any money again. Then you know that person is not coming from a place of motivation. They're coming from a place of fear.
Fear, yes.
And you know that they're not really being accountable for their own thoughts, belief systems, and actions because they keep relating to things outside of themselves.
Very true.
With that type of situation, how do you direct them? How do you get them to at least, if you will, pay attention enough to what you're saying for them to start looking at themselves better?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's such a, with Robbins for the 3 years, I coached over 350 different clients from 13 countries from around the world. So I have over 3,000 hours under my belt of phone work and limited Skype work of listening to, okay, tell me where you're going.
What are you hearing?
Right? So, the coaching process it's really a 3-step process. Step number 1, let's get clear on where you are. Where are you really right now? In your health, in your fitness, in your business, in your relationship. And very often you find somebody has one area that they're doing phenomenal.
Right. And then the others, they're going, what's up?
What the heck's happening over there? So they're making money, they're multimillionaire. They find it easy to make money.
Right.
But they find it very difficult to stay in a relationship, or they find it very difficult to stay fit, or they find it very difficult to stay with high energy and have fun around life,
and enjoy it.
So you want to get clear on that and get them really clear on that piece of it. The second piece is, okay, let's dig into what's going to stop you from getting to where you want to go.
Okay.
All right, so we look at the limiting beliefs, we look at the roadblocks, we look at that, and we'll dive into that. So very often...
You're peeling the onion.
Yeah, you peel the onion back. So people come to me and say, I want to help on my business, and we end up doing a little bit of life coaching to get them through to the business results that they're looking for.
Because their business didn't just show up the way that it is.
Yeah.
It took time to grow, whether it grew in a very constructive light or a deconstructive light.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go backtrack for a moment. I do this whole 360 thing since we were talking about the book and paying attention to posturing, paying attention to body language. When you're coaching someone, do you also bring that to their attention? So, for instance, would you be on the phone and say to the person, are you sitting upright right now? Do you have your feet up in the air? Are you kneeling forward? Are you leaning? So you do get into that as a part of it, I would think, yes?
Oh, goodness. The person will ring and say, hey, coach. And then right away, that first, hey, coach, my eyes are closed. I take a breath before the call.
Okay.
I check in with them and I go, hey, coach. Where's the breath? Where's the shoulders? Where's the head? Where's the eyes? What's the physiology doing? Because from a physiological standpoint, the physiology is not connected to the mind.
Yes.
There's a continuum between body and mind. It never stops. Right? So I can shift somebody right away and say, okay, I'm going to invite you right now. I see you sitting down. They go, yeah, how do you know? Oh, come on. Your energy is so flat.
Because you can feel it.
You have to be sitting. You can feel it.
There's a level of intuition there as well, because you are open to receiving that person's energy. You're open to connecting with them to legitimately help. And the reason I say it that way is because there are a lot of folks out there that we know who they want to help people, but the dollar is more important.
Yes.
So they're not necessarily going to connect at that same level where they're using clear cognizance.
Yes.
They're tapping in and they're listening and they're, as you say, using the whole body because the mind and body is connected.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's funny. A story's coming up for me.
Okay, sure.
I'll tell you a story.
We get to listen to a story.
So, and you've heard this story. I think you heard the story from me once before. You might have, you might not. So, there's 2 Irish brothers, Patrick and Seamus.
Okay.
They're Irish twins. They were born 10 months
their
apart.
names.
Yes. I grew up with a ton of Patrick and Seamus.
I'm sure.
So, Patrick is 10 months older than Seamus, and they grow up, and they're fiercely competitive. They're competing for everything from the minute they're born. They compete over who gets mommy's love, who gets more milk, who gets daddy's love. They get into school, who runs the fastest, who's the biggest, who's the strongest, so on and so forth. They become teenagers, and of course they compete over girls.
Really? I can't even
can you imagine?
over girls.
So eventually they meet this one girl, and they're both in their early 20s, and the girl breaks their heart, and Patrick says to Seamus, I'm never speaking to you again. And Seamus goes, I'm never speaking to you again. It'll be a cold day in hell before I speak to you. Can I say that on the air? I can say a cold day in hell? Because I've said it. There you go.
You already said
I've
it.
said
So,
it.
you know,
Oh,
they come after us, you're paying the fine. That's all there is to it.
So Patrick and Seamus vow never to speak to each other again. The problem was they lived in houses not far away from each other. So Patrick would look out his kitchen window and he would see Seamus's window in the kitchen.
Right.
And Seamus would look out and he would see Patrick. There was a little river going between the 2 houses. So this feud went on for years. This silence went on for years. And one night, Seamus, the older brother, gets a knock on the door, and there's a young man there, long hair, and he's a carpenter. And he says, I'm in town for the next 2 weeks. I hear you have jobs, you have work,
Right.
you have odd jobs that I could do. I'm a carpenter. So Seamus asks him, he says, have you got
And I do recall this
references?
story.
You do
It's
recall the
excellent,
story,
so I'm
right?
going to let you continue.
Yes. So he asks him, do you have references? So he shows him the references from local tradesmen in towns
Right.
nearby. He says, okay, grand. He says, I have a job for you. So he walks him out to the barn out the back. And as he walks out to the barn out the back, he opens the door and he says, you see all this wood? See these 2x4s?
Right.
I want you to build a wall right there on the back of my house so I don't see into that fella's kitchen anymore because I don't like him. Can you do that? So the young carpenter
Yeah,
looks.
of course.
Says, yep, I can do that. It's going to take me 3 days. Seamus goes, well, that's perfect timing because I have a convention to go to for the next 3 days. I'll be leaving first thing in the morning. I'll be back late Friday night. You'll have it done for me Friday night? Absolutely.
Okay.
So off Seamus goes. He's thinking about the wall. And then, of course, the phone starts to ring and he starts to get caught up in business. And he doesn't think about the wall again for another 3 days.
All right.
On the drive home, he's thinking, good, I'm going to have that wall up. I won't have to look at that ugly brother of mine, never have to listen to him again. So he walks into the house, gives the wife a kiss. He walks through down to the basement. He walks out to the backyard. And now in Ireland, we have long days. So it's now about 10:30 at night. Then the sun's just gone down. And he looks...
10:30? That is really a long day.
10:30, it's long. Yeah, about 10:30, 10:45 where we are before it gets dark. And he looks and he sees the carpenter down by the river.
Okay.
And he's looking, he goes, I don't see a wall.
Uh-oh.
So he looks at the carpenter has a big smile on his face, and he realizes the carpenter's built a bridge. He built a bridge across the river. Mm-hmm. So, of course, he's furious. He's thinking, I'm not paying him. B, that's not what I told him to do. As he's walking down to tear into the carpenter, he looks across the bridge and he sees his brother. Brother's walking across the bridge. The brother walks over the bridge and he has tears in his eyes. And his hands are open. And he says to the brother, brother, I'm sorry I wasn't big enough. I wasn't the man who was big enough to build this bridge. I missed you. I missed you. And a lot of what I do as a coach is to help people build bridges for themselves.
Sure.
We tend to build the bridge thinking that we need to build to somebody else. The key is we need to build the bridge for ourselves.
Absolutely.
In our business, in our health, in our life, in our relationship. And to realize that there's gold on the other side of the bridge, that there's joy on the other side of the bridge.
Guy.
Yes, yeah.
Now let me tell you, there is gold.
There's gold out there. So my job is to help them build their own bridge. My job is not to do. My job is to empower.
Right.
Right. As a coach, it's show you the road for you to take.
Right. You're not fixing their issues for them.
No.
You are shedding light on areas that have been sitting kind of in the gray. Mm-hmm. And that makes sense. Now, when you present, when you speak, obviously I've seen you many times. You have
very
this
serious.
very gregarious, playful, humorous way that you present. How does that come into play when you're dealing with your clients?
Oh, look, one of the keys to life is to be authentic, to be yourself. If you're not yourself, you're not as powerful, you're not as effective for your client.
Agreed.
So I am there to allow the client to come out of themselves. Right, so many clients have this image of, well, this is what a businessman needs to walk like, needs to talk
Absolutely.
like, needs to dress like this, needs to have this type of watch, needs to drive this type of car. And I'm like, okay, how's that really working out for you? Especially when I see they're not being authentic, when I see they're out of alignment. Because the key thing is, are you in alignment with you? If that's who you are, great, rock it. More often than not, that's not who they are. So it's to allow them to be free, to give them that sense of freedom, to be themselves, to step up to the next level. So to empower them to say, okay, you're great who you are. You're absolutely phenomenal
You don't
who you are.
have to stand in somebody else's shoes.
No, you don't have to. Look, I've got another story.
He's full of them.
Should we take a break and then go to the next story?
We have a moment or two before.
We have some time.
So
Okay.
it depends on how long your story is.
This could be long. This could be a long story.
Okay, so hold that story for a
I'll hold
moment.
that thought.
Let me ask a question here. Typically, if you're dealing with a client, what's the average time that you're working with them? Because think about this. A lot of times somebody comes in, even for me through my office, where they have patterns that have been established for forever. I have a client that sits down and says, Janie doesn't want to marry me. I don't understand why Janie doesn't want to marry me. And I get the feeling that, Mary and Sue and Kim didn't want to marry you either.
Right.
So there's something going on here. There's a pattern. And this is a pattern that they've established over the course of their life. Not necessarily when they were 5 per se, but maybe their dating life. It was stifled at age 12 or 11 or 14 or what have you. It is unlikely that somebody is going to do a complete transformation in one session.
Yes,
Not
that's true.
impossible, but typically very unlikely. Because even when I do hypnosis, if there is a core disconnect, it takes time to understand what that is for the person to relate to themselves, to be able to see themselves clearly, and to be able to allow themselves to be open to change. If somebody comes to you and they have that type of difficulty, how long does it take? And I know that's a kind of a vague question.
Yeah, it's a great question.
But by the same token, I think it gives people a baseline idea if they're looking to help themselves.
Yeah, that's a great
what
question.
can they expect?
Fantastic question. Love that question. And as you were asking me that question, I was picturing so many different people who have dealt with over the years. So that varies on the person. That really varies on where they are and how ready they are to step into that zone of discomfort. Because, to grow, who likes going to the gym to feel sore for 3 days? Nobody. That's why people don't go. Or they go for a week, they go, oh, God, I'm so sore. It's the same thing from an emotional standpoint. Sometimes it really hurts. You dig up stuff. From a business standpoint, look, in life, human beings, we love certainty.
Are you sure?
Yes, we love certainty.
Some of us like change, uncertainty.
There's many more people I find like certainty, right?
Absolutely, I'm just playing.
To the extent of, look, addiction. Addiction is the highest form of certainty. I'm going to take this drink, I'm going to take this drug,
Right,
I'm
I
going
know
to take
that
this.
there's some sort of outcome because of it.
Yeah, when I do this, I do it
Yes,
often.
I feel this way because I do this, whatever this is.
Yeah, you get that result. So, the person very often, look, when I do my presentations, I bring music.
Yes.
I have people standing up. I have people sitting down. I have people standing up. I tell a few jokes. I get them out of the chair. I'm looking to break that pattern that you talk about, because we're in our patterns. And one of the key patterns that people always say to me is, oh, I know that. I read that.
Yeah, hold that thought, because that's really important. I know that.
Yes.
That's one of the worst things that you can do. But we will be back in just a moment. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll return with the Halley Elise Show. Thank you. This is your empowerment psychic, Halley Elise, one of the top 100 psychics in America. For over 30 years, I have offered psychic readings, programs, spiritual guidance, and other life skill techniques. As our lives have become more complicated, we often reach for answers. Who are we? Where are we headed? Are we pointed in the right direction? In addition, we often are concerned for our loved ones. I have helped thousands of people navigate their life circumstances through different modalities of spiritual and intuitive guidance. Call me at 561-755-2166 and allow me to further explain how I may assist you in clearing the path of yesterday, so today and tomorrow will be a success. Call me at 561-755-2166 or visit my site, HalleyElise.com. That's HalleyElise.com.
Journey with Gaia Retreat in Mount Shasta, August 19th through the 25th. A transforming and magical experience with Catherine Lorenzini. Embrace the energies of Mount Shasta and the portals of the root chakra. Channeling ascending masters, energy vortexes, sacred sites, crystal bowl healings, vision quests, and so much more. Visit JourneyWithGaia.com for more information. That's JourneyWithGaia, GAIA.com. You have been listening to a Top 100 Psychic, Halley Elise, your connection to all things spiritual, psychic, and empowering. For a private session, call 561-755-2166. Now, back to the Halley Elise Show.
Welcome back to the Halley Elise Show.
Welcome back.
You're going to start singing? I thought you said you weren't singing, and that's Welcome Back,
not
Carter.
singing.
That's an old show from, what, the 70s?
I saw it on TV. It's on one of these American channels.
You still watch TV?
I do. I watch the television.
Oh, okay. That's a whole nother show. All right, so we were talking about when you have a group and you're doing a presentation, and your intention is to help people transform. You want to break those old patterns, and you start to talk about something and communicate with them that if you do it this way, this is your outcome. And you get somebody who goes, I know that. And before we went to break, I said, worst thing you can do. Why? Why is that a bad thing?
So that's a great question, and can I backtrack a little bit on that?
Absolutely.
All right.
You get 30 seconds.
I have 30 seconds. Thank you very much. Okay. So patterns are not necessarily a bad thing. People can have patterns that are getting them a degree of success, a modicum of success. And they don't necessarily have to obliterate those patterns. They have to tweak some of the patterns, right? So for many people, our certainty is, I get up in the morning, I'm going to set the clock. I know I'm going to get 6:45. I'm going to waken up. I'm going to bing. Going to do my thing for 5 minutes, say whatever I have to say, or I'm going to lie there, roll over. We have a pattern.
Structure.
Yeah. There's that certainty in the morning. Walk the dog, not walk the dog. Make the coffee.
Right.
People like to do what they like to do.
Walking the dog is bad, though.
Walking the dog's
When
bad.
you have to clean up the floor, it becomes a whole other situation.
You know, so I'll find people who come to me who are doing okay in business. They're doing well. They have a company where they're making, the gross revenues are $2 million. But when I look at what they're leaving on the table, they're really a $20 million company. But they're working at $2 million, and he's doing well.
Huge difference.
So
right, but his perception is he's doing well, or her perception is she is doing well.
And he or she
Limited
is in
belief.
that comfort zone, right? And that can be a tough place, which is why when I'll start the presentation, I'll start with, I don't care what you know, because you didn't come here to learn more, right? You know this stuff, and very often knowledge can hold you back because it's a safe zone. Oh, I know that. I read that.
I already did that, right?
You know, and Tony Robbins, when you go to a Tony Robbins concert, I call it a concert because it's an amazing event.
Yes.
There's music, there's new friendships,
There's dancing, there's playing,
there's up.
Yes.
And he really breaks your patterns. You don't go to sit and write notes, you go to sit and get transformed.
Right.
So he's phenomenal at that.
Right.
And Tony Robbins, when you break down what Tony Robbins teaches you, you hear what he teaches. His information has come from Jim Rohn. His information has come from NLP. His information has come from Stephen Covey. So there's other places, but he's just a master at delivering it. You receive it so much better because he hits your auditory, your visual, your kinesthetic. He hits all the different ways to receive it.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize there are I want to say multitude of learning techniques, but it's more a matter of there are 4 main ways that we learn. And the average person says, no, I heard that, so that's it.
That's it.
That's not enough.
Yeah.
Would you explain what those are so those folks listening and watching, they can understand?
Even as I coach, I will coach differently for different people because the high visual, and it's funny we're talking about this because I had this conversation with my son this afternoon.
Oh, perfect timing.
He works with the Phoenix Suns. He's in sales at the Phoenix Suns, his first job out of college. And what do you think they're teaching him? He's in sales, so what do you think they teach him?
To pay attention to who he's dealing with because not everybody hears information or receives information in the same way.
Not yet. They're not that sophisticated.
They're not that sophisticated? Okay.
They're teaching him scripts. They're teaching him what to say.
See,
right?
to me,
basic sales organization.
That's the worst thing, though.
Well, look, you start somewhere. The young bucks that are out of school, what do I say?
Steps.
Step one.
I get that. But
that's step one.
I think, and my personal opinion, but I think it's very limited if a teacher, whether it's a teacher in the sales arena or a teacher at school, but somebody who is teaching you information, teaching you a technique, if they believe there is only one way to do it.
Yes, I hear you. So now we're getting sophisticated with this.
Yes.
So, and obviously, look, my clientele, I have clients in California, I have clients in Arizona, I have clients in New York, I have clients down here, and they go from the construction business to the hair business. That was an interesting client.
That's cool.
That was a year. You know, so very often I'll take on clients, and it can be a 6-month to an 18-month contract with them.
So he just answered the question that we asked earlier. In case you missed that, you were thinking, how long does it take to work with Mark? There's your answer.
Yes. I also take on individual clients who come to me for 2 or 3 or 4 sessions around body language. They want to do a presentation. They want to become more confident speakers.
Yes.
They want to have more energy in the room. So I'll take them through a short series of videos, which they do. And within 4 sessions, they're transformed.
Because you can
they
help
want to be.
critique
Yeah.
what they're doing, and they also have an opportunity to see
Yes.
how they're presenting information.
And it's
that's
amazing.
tremendous.
It's amazing the resistance you get on sending the video. I'll ask them, I'll say, well, send me a video of yourself for 40 seconds. They go, no, can't we just talk about it? I'm like, no, the video is going to give me all the
That's good,
information
right,
I
right.
need.
Because you have to see that visual.
And I watch the video with no sound. I say, I don't care what you want to talk about.
So that brings us back to there's 4 specific ways, or I'm going to say base ways,
Yes.
of receiving information.
All right, great. Visual. Typically, people see. I see what you're going to say. That vision.
Words
that's
show up as images,
beautiful.
yes.
Everything's going to show up, and one of the ways you can recognize the visual is typically their eyes go up to the left or up to the right. When they go up to the left, they're picturing a memory. They're seeing a memory. If they go up to the right, they're structuring a picture
And
for
when
that
they're
situation.
looking straight up,
And when they're looking straight
Right
up, they're
and
usually
left brain.
confused. They're going back and forth. I need a beer.
not necessarily. There's a higher connection sometimes.
A whiskey in Ireland, right?
Okay.
And then
Visual.
that tends to be the visual. The auditory tends to be lateral, so they'll tend to look right across, and they're hearing what it is you're saying, right? And then the person who tends to look down more tends to be more kinesthetic. That's the person who feels more. They'll say stuff like, it feels right in my gut. The way that also shows up is in the pattern of the speech. Typically, the visual is a higher energy, highly verbal. Robin Williams, God rest him, dead and
Yes.
gone, was a high visual. But his speed of speech and his verbal qualities,
Everything
he
was
flying,
connected.
bang, 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 bang,
Amazing.
bang, bang, bang.
Yes.
The auditory tends to slow down a bit. And the kinesthetic, when you're having a conversation with a kinesthetic, they can be really slow.
Can you slow it down a little more?
You can go make a cup of cappuccino or an espresso,
Right.
And the kinesthetic's very slow. No disrespect to the kinesthetics.
No,
that's
it's just the way
their-
they perceive.
That's the way they
Yes.
bring it in. Now, what's amazing is when you're, as a boy, I grew up cutting grass and I grew up working on the farm. And if you bring the smell of fresh grass into this room, I'm back in Ireland when I'm 8 years
Right.
old, like that.
It's that sensory.
The most powerful
Olfactory.
sense is the olfactory.
Yes.
The second is the taste, right? And then the kinesthetic and the visual and the auditory are all about equal. They're all about equal. So we have different ways that we learn.
Right.
And as a teacher, as a coach, you want to engage as many of those in order to get through to your
And
people.
isn't it true that some people need all of that stimuli? Others just lean towards one versus the other. Some incorporate a couple at a time, and depending on circumstance, sometimes
Yes.
use the others.
Yes.
So in other words,
yeah.
they may, I remember years and years and years ago taking a class on writing, and they were talking about for you to be able to remember something, seeing it and writing it are great tools. But if you really want to remember it, say it as you're doing it, so
Yes.
that you're engaging all those
three.
aspects of yourself.
All three, yeah.
And it was very effective.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And then NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which Tony Robbins has based a lot of his
Yes.
teaching on.
Yes.
They have a technique on how to teach somebody who maybe is dyslexic,
Yes.
has trouble with it, because from an auditory standpoint, if I say BAD, they get DAB,
Right, it doesn't come
BDA.
out right for them.
So you
literally,
want to
it's
bring it to a visual
traversed.
standpoint, bring it up here to the top left, because that's where my visual memory is.
Right.
So when I look up to the left, so I've helped a couple of people on that regard on how to become better spellers with
Yes.
just that simple. You're going to read, you're going to hold
Making a
cards
slight
up here.
adjustment.
Yeah, very
And
slight
what's
adjustment,
interesting
yeah.
with that too is to be able to internalize something. A lot of times when you're, for instance, saying an affirmation, if you're also doing a hand movement or an eye movement or a leg movement, and you're,
Yes.
again, incorporating more than one technique,
Yes.
you tend to hold it better. You tend to integrate.
In sports, they have you kick the ball. They have you throw the ball. So what you're doing is you're anchoring the feeling. So it's called the anchor. In
Right.
NLP, they call it the anchor. So here you're anchoring the feeling into your body. Tennis player, golf player. I mean, that's what golf they want you to do, is anchor the correct swing such that you don't have to think about it. It's just, okay, it's anchored in the body. You can do it with my eyes closed, right? Same thing with the tennis. Yeah, I'm taking up tennis now. Oh my goodness.
You'll get it.
I'm getting it. I'll get there. In about 20 years, I'll be all right.
I'm going to make sure that we share your information while we're in the air.
Sure.
So we mentioned your book. If you can mention that again, it would be great.
The Looking Glass Detective.
There you go. And that's by Mark Logue.
Logue. Mark
See,
Anthony Logue.
I said it correctly.
Yes, you did. Logue with the brogue. Yes.
There you go. As far as your website, if you don't mind sharing with everybody so
Sure.
they can make sure they're able to connect with you.
www.marklogue.org. O-R-G, not .com, .org.
Why'd you go org?
Because the com was taken by Mark Logue, who wrote the King's Speech. So he was the writer of the King's
Interesting.
Speech, yeah. And he's actually allegedly a distant cousin of mine. So I'm still trying to find out. And he's in Australia.
So see, you may have a connection to royalty that you didn't even know. Indirectly.
Let's not talk about that.
Be kind of interesting. English, Irish. We could go into whole different
Woman, we're going to leave that
things
one
there.
alone. Yes.
Okay.
I'm an Irishman. Okay, proud of it.
If there was just one thing that you could share that you know would make a huge impact on someone's life, what would it be?
It would be that when you own who you are and you own your authenticity, your life goes to the next level. Because at that point, when you get to that place where you own who you are, you don't care what other people think. You don't care what the world thinks about you. And it's amazing to be able to let go of what other people think. Because they see you through their filter. It has nothing to do with you. So I would say, own it. Be responsible for you. Live in a state of authenticity in your business, in your life, in your health.
Yes,
and simply own
absolutely.
those things. Never make yourself wrong. That's the simplest thing. And keep it simple. I believe in keeping
Would
it
you
simple.
agree to the saying, don't ever do anything that you feel guilty about? Do you believe that ties in with being authentic?
Guilt's a whole other subject. Guilt's a whole other subject. You know, it brings you back to the past. You get to be a prisoner of your past.
But is it, if you're thinking in terms of future and you are aligning yourself with what possibilities
Yeah.
exist, and you're thinking about, well, even though in the past I might have done it that way because that's the way I was trained, or that's the way that I believed, or because I was afraid.
Or my mum or my dad or my grandparents. Yep.
But
yeah.
now I'm choosing
Yes.
to do whatever I want to do, knowing that I don't have to be guilty about it. I think it puts things in a different perspective.
Yeah. Look, the whole guilt thing, that's another show. We could spend a show
It is.
just on the
But
guilt.
the only
Yeah.
reason to bring this up
Yeah.
is so that folks listening in understand that they are still in command of their world. They
Yes.
still know what's going on as long as they pay attention, as long
Yeah.
as they're choosing to be conscious.
It's said in some religions that the intuition, the gut,
Yes.
is God speaking to us. It's the higher power speaking
And
to
I'm
us.
constantly, this is why
Yes.
I'm here
Yes.
talking about divine
Yes.
connecting, using that innate knowing to express yourself not only for things that you want, but to live your life authentically. And with that, my friend, I want to say thank you so
You're
much
very
for being
welcome.
on today. And if you will, again, give out your web address real quick here so
Yes.
everybody says, oh, I got to get in touch with this guy.
www.marklogue.org.
And that's Logue.
Logue, like the magazine Vogue, only with an L.
There you go.
And Mark
Thank
with a
you
K.
so much for
Yes.
being here. And
Very
thank you,
welcome.
everyone, for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed. And we will be back next week. Have a great day.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Programs, spiritual guidance, and other life skill techniques. As our lives have become more complicated, we often reach for answers. Who are we? Where are we headed? Are we pointed in the right direction? In addition, we often are concerned for our loved ones. I have helped thousands of people navigate their life circumstances through different modalities of spiritual and intuitive guidance. Call me at 561-755-2166 and allow me to further explain how I may assist you in clearing the path of yesterday so today and tomorrow will be a success. Call me at 561-755-2166 or visit my site HalleyElise.com. That's HalleyElise.com.
Journey with Gaia Retreat in Mount Shasta, August 19th through the 25th. a transforming and magical experience with Catherine Lorenzini. Embrace the energies of Mount Shasta and the portals of the root chakra. Channeling ascending masters, energy vortexes, sacred sites, crystal bowl healings, vision quests, and so much more. Visit JourneyWithGaia.com for more information. That's JourneyWithGaia, GAIA.com. You have been listening to a Top 100 Psychic, Halley Elise, your connection to all things spiritual, psychic, and empowering. For a private session, call 561-755-2166. Now, back to the Halley Elise Show and your empowerment